IKEA is one of the most loved brands on earth, and almost nothing about the actual experience should work. The store is built to confuse you on purpose. You're not allowed to eat until your patience is nearly gone. And once you finally get your purchase home, IKEA doesn't even finish the job. It hands you a wordless instruction sheet and a tiny hex key and makes you build the thing yourself, badly, muttering, definitely with one shelf on backwards. None of that should build love. It should build resentment. Instead, it built a $40 billion company. And here's the strange part: almost none of it was planned. It starts with a 5-year-old and a box of matches. Ingvar Kamprad's first business wasn't a lemonade stand, it was matches, bought cheap in bulk, resold one at a time to neighbors, a habit that grew by 10 into pencils, seeds, and Christmas decorations sold door to door on a bicycle. That boy also had dyslexia, in a school system with zero patience for it. At 17, his father rewarded him with a small amount of cash for doing well despite it. And he used the money to register a company, naming it with his own initials plus the first letters of the farm and village he grew up in: IKEA. Still a teenager. Furniture wasn't even the plan yet. His dyslexia should have been a footnote in this story. Instead, it quietly built the strangest, most iconic part of the entire company. And almost nobody who shops there knows why. Once IKEA became a real catalog business, Comprad had thousands of products that needed names. Standard practice was product codes, numbers. Numbers never stuck for him, pictures and words did. So he threw the system out and started naming furniture like people. A chair became Ingolf, a line of soft toys became Djungelskog, Swedish for jungle forest. That slightly absurd system you've laughed at in an aisle, Tromsø, Malm, Spetsborg, exists because a dyslexic teenager built himself a memory system before anyone thought to call it accessible design. But a name alone doesn't sell a chair. You need someone to actually picture it in their life. And solving that problem is what turned IKEA from a small Swedish mail-order shop into something almost nobody saw coming. In 1951, Comprad sat down and made a catalog himself: 68 pages, 285,000 copies, mailed by hand around southern Sweden. By 2013, that same catalog was printing over 208 million copies a year, more than double the number of Bibles expected to be printed that same year. For 7 decades, right up until IKEA quietly retired it in 2020. It was arguably the single most read publication on the planet, and the trick behind it was almost embarrassingly simple. Don't show a chair, show a room. Let a stranger picture their own actual life happening inside a photograph. That catalog made IKEA a promise no furniture company had made before: good design, in your home, at a price you could actually afford. And that promise immediately started making enemies. The first problem was trust. The prices were so low that people assumed the furniture had to be junk. So in 1953, Comprad converted an old workshop in Elmhult into a showroom, a place where people could walk in, sit on the chairs, and feel the quality with their own hands before they ordered. Nobody planned it as a store. It was damage control for prices that looked too good to be true. It's also, quietly, the ancestor of every IKEA showroom you've ever walked through. The second problem was war. IKEA's prices didn't just win customers, they enraged the entire Swedish furniture industry. Competitors leaned on the suppliers and got IKEA blacklisted. Manufacturers were pressured to refuse to sell to Comprad at all. It should have strangled the company in its crib. Instead, cut off, Comprad did the only thing left. He started designing IKEA's own furniture and buying materials from factories abroad. For the first time, IKEA controlled exactly how its products were made. The attack meant to kill the company, handed it the one thing that would make it unstoppable. Because now there was a third problem, and IKEA finally had the freedom to solve it. Back then, furniture shipped the way everyone shipped it, fully assembled. Big, bulky, awkward pieces that cost a fortune to transport and turned up dented, scratched, and broken far more often than anyone wanted to admit. Every damaged table was a table IKEA swallowed the cost on, and the answer arrived by accident in a parking lot. In 1956, a designer named Gillis Lundgren needed to get a table to a catalog photo shoot. It didn't fit in his car. He didn't call for a bigger vehicle. He grabbed a saw, cut the legs off, packed it flat, drove to the shoot, and put the legs back on when he arrived. That's the entire origin of flat pack furniture, not a strategy meeting, a man solving a parking problem with a saw. And it's also the actual reason IKEA furniture looks the way it does, a connection almost nobody makes. Clean lines, simple joints, no ornate carving, that unmistakable stripped down Scandinavian look. It's not a taste, it's a consequence. Furniture that has to disassemble into a flat box, survive shipping, and get rebuilt by a stranger with one hex key has to be simple by design. IKEA even put a name on the philosophy: democratic design, form, function, quality, sustainability, and low price, all required in the same object, all at once. And it quietly killed the problem that started all this. Suddenly, the same truck carried roughly 3 times the furniture. Breakage collapsed. Shipping costs fell through the floor. The catalog had promised a beautiful room for cheap. Flat pack is what made that promise physically possible to keep. So by the time you actually walked through IKEA's doors, the company had already spent decades engineering exactly what you'd want, and exactly what it would cost you. Getting you to want it was only half the plan, though. The other half starts the second you walk through the door, and it's the part people complain about the loudest, without ever realizing it's the reason they keep coming back. Walk into any IKEA and you don't shop your own way. You enter through one door, and a single winding path drags you through every department in the building: bedrooms, kitchens, the marketplace, whether you came for a lamp or not. Architects who've studied it call it a psychological weapon. The idea: the longer and more disorienting the path, the more your brain gives up on shopping with a plan and switches to pure impulse. And it gets more deliberate than that. Positioned right in the middle of that maze, not near the entrance, not near the exit, deliberately in the middle, sits the restaurant. Compred added it after noticing something in the 1950s. Families driving hours to visit the store would get hungry halfway through, leave to find food, and never come back. So he put the food inside the maze, at the exact point patience runs out. Researchers who study hunger and shopping have found hungry shoppers spend significantly more than shoppers who've already eaten. Employees inside the company have a blunter name for what those meatballs actually do: the best sofa seller in the building. Now, here's the detail that actually proves none of this was an accident that just happened to work. A few years ago, IKEA tested smaller city center stores with a completely normal layout. Walk in, grab what you want, leave. Easier, faster, no maze. Customers hated it. They asked for the maze back. IKEA brought it back. Even when the company tried to remove the exact thing designed to disorient people, people missed being disoriented. Which raises the real question this whole video's been circling: why does a company making things harder for you keep making people love it more? The strangest part of the answer has nothing to do with the store at all. It happens after you've already paid, already left, and you're home alone on the floor with a bag of screws. In 2011, 3 researchers from Harvard, Yale, and Duke decided to test that feeling directly. One group assembled simple IKEA furniture themselves. Another group was shown the exact same furniture, already built. Everyone was asked one question: how much would you pay for this? The people who built it themselves valued it 63% higher than the people looking at the identical finished version. Then it got stranger. In a second test, total amateurs folded clumsy paper cranes and valued their own lopsided creations almost 5 times higher than an identical crane folded by an actual expert. They called it the IKEA effect. And buried inside that study is a sharper edge, one most people miss. When participants built something and then watched it get destroyed or never finished it, the effect vanished completely. Instantly. It isn't effort alone that creates the love, it's finishing. And if you saw our Hermes video, this should feel familiar. Hermes makes you wait years and prove yourself just to be allowed to buy a bag. And that friction is the whole reason people crave it. IKEA runs the same engine, just aimed at the opposite end of the sale. Hermes makes you earn it before you own it. IKEA makes you build it after. Either way, the effort is the thing you fall in love with. So look at everything that just happened, start to finish. A naming system born from a disability nobody accommodated. A catalog that outprinted the Bible by showing you a room instead of a product. An entire design operation forced into existence by rivals trying to blacklist the company to death. A design language born from a table that couldn't fit in a car. A maze people say they hate, then beg to have back. None of it reads like good customer service. Every piece on its own looks like a company making things harder for you. But each one only exists because of the one before it. The dyslexia built the naming. The naming needed the catalog's promise made enemies. And being cut off is the only reason IKEA started designing its own furniture, which is the only reason Flatpak could exist at all. And Flatpak, once you're standing in your living room holding a hex key, is the exact same instinct as the maze and the meatballs, just handed straight to you instead of the store. Ease never built this company. Friction did, every single time, as long as you made it to the end. The next time you're lost somewhere in the middle of an IKEA, hungry, holding a flat box with a picture-only instruction sheet inside, that's not a flaw in the experience. That's the entire product. You didn't just buy the furniture, you built the reason you love it. Consider yourself grasped. See you next time.